needed to hear this, but be a hoe. Continue to be a hoe until somebody come save you. Because they respect when you are genuine, when you give them your time. So give all of them your time until somebody show you they can't be.
A few moments later.
Day 7 living in a homeless shelter.
Day 7 living in a homeless shelter.
She's homeless. She's homeless.
And it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it.
I accidentally girl bossed too hard, and now I have a real job with real responsibilities, and like people keep emailing me and asking me questions, and I don't know the answer, and I'm just really stressed out, and I don't want to girl boss anymore.
Where are all of the female entrepreneurs and business owners? How do I make female entrepreneur friends? I've led a business for the past 2 years, and I feel like I've met hundreds of male entrepreneurs. Like every second fucking guy has a business, and I've met like a handful of female entrepreneurs, and I need female entrepreneur friends. Is there a community? If there is a community, please let me know. Or is there like an app or a members club or something? Because I've looked online and I literally can't find it, and I don't even where are they hiding? Where are you hiding? Please, I travel to lots of places. I can meet you anywhere.
Woo, y'all. Black women are tired. Black women are tired. We've been tired. But let me tell you specifically why I'm tired today. Do you remember this court case back in June? Yeah, the Supreme Court case where they struck down affirmative action. This landmark ruling is already radically changing the way colleges are able to attract a new and diverse student body. But the fuckery didn't stop there. The very same people who brought the case to strike down affirmative action are now bringing a court case against a black venture fund, Fearless Fund. They're saying that because this fund focuses on investing in female entrepreneurs of color, that it's unconstitutional. The fund was established to address the wide gap in venture capitalist funding for businesses led by women of color, who confront barrier after barrier in obtaining support and investments for their businesses. Black women represent 14% of the female population, but we account for 42% of the new women-owned businesses. 17% of Black women are in the process of starting or running new businesses, compared to 10% of white women and 15% of white men. Black women are the fastest growing demographic of entrepreneurs in the United States, but we face disproportionate financial headwinds. Black women receive less than 0.35% of all VC funding, or not even a full percentage of the billions of dollars that flow through the startup ecosystem. And given a lack of access to capital, Black women are more likely than any other demographic to self-fund their businesses. So yeah, this is why I'm tired today.
I can't stand girls that judge other girls for what they eat, talking about, I care about what I put in my body. Okay, Sarah, I've seen your exes. You clearly don't.
I just wanted to put up like a little PSA that to the women commenting on the video of me not being able to trust new females who enter my life and make female friends easily, it's kind of serving the opposite purpose that I think that you think it is, to attack me in the comments. Cruel and mean comments about how like I'm the problem and why would anybody want to be friends with me anyways because I have trust issues with women doesn't really make me super eager to befriend more of you. I know this comes as a really big shock, as a stunning information, but you're helping me prove my point, so like that's cool.
Girls support girls thing, but some women are generally so mean.
Girl, it be jealousy. I feel like I talk about jealousy a lot on my TikTok, but like it really be true. Especially if you start changing your appearance, you get a new car, a new crib, you get a new job, you start making a lot of money. You will find that a lot of people do not like that, especially women. Like, granted, I have a video on men who are jealous of their spouses and friends and X, Y, and Z, but women have a way more conniving way of showing it. Like, granted, there do be men that will say slick remarks, but with women, they can say something like 7 a.m. in the morning and it will hit you at 7 at night what they actually meant.
What's up, guys? I wanted to ask if you guys could excuse my voice. I'm actually sick at the moment, but I'm still out here making content for you guys because I love that you guys are supporting the channel and supporting the movement. And a little sore throat isn't going to stop me from making videos. Alright, enough about me, let's get into the video. As you saw, women even admit that other women are hard to deal with. On top of that, women who claim to be strong and independent are the first ones who seem to be begging for money and justify investing in them because they're women, not because their product or service is better. So how do you think an all-woman company will turn out? Supposedly, discrimination based on sex is illegal, yet the government rarely enforces this on all women companies, especially ones who are loud and proud about it. Why is that? Why don't you see many successful women run companies? You'll find out in this article, which was written in 2009. The title is Cat Fights Over Handbags and Tears in the Toilets. When this producer launched a women-only TV company, she thought she'd kissed goodbye to conflict. TV is way easier than actually making a real product that the world wants or needs. There's no engineering, it's just producing content like modern bitches today are doing on YouTube, but more professional. This company probably rented a studio where a male engineer made the technical shit actually work, while the women did the easy part in running a media company. Let's get into it. Over in one corner sat Alice, a strong-minded 27-year-old who always said what she thought, regardless of how much it might hurt someone else. In the other corner was Sarah, a 30-something high flyer who would stand up for herself momentarily, then burst into tears and run for the ladies. Strong-minded is code word for being a bitch. If it was a man, he would be called a jackass, but feminists use terms like strong to cloak their bad behavior. Their simmering fight lasted hours, egged on by spectators taking sides and fueling the anger. Sometimes other girls would join in, either heckling aggressively or huddling defensively in the toilets. It might sound like a scene from a tawdry reality show such as Big Brother, but the truth is a little more prosaic. It was just a normal morning in my office. No men in sight, and there's already anarchy. Just remember that when women claimed the world would be more peaceful if women ran it. The venomous women were supposedly the talented employees I had headhunted to achieve my utopian dream. A female, only company with happy, harmonious workers benefiting from an absence of men. The reason why that won't work is because there's no men to blame and they'd actually have to take accountability. It was an idealistic vision swiftly shattered by the nightmare reality. Constant bitchiness, surging hormones, unchecked emotions, attention-seeking and fashion rivalry so fierce it tore my staff apart. There have been all-male companies for years. Seemed to work just fine until the feminists came along. When I read the other day that Sienna Miller had said there was no such thing as the sisterhood, I knew what she meant. That's true. Bitches don't care about each other. Only when they have the same problem, they trauma bond. I can understand why people want to believe that women look out for each other, because with men in power at work and politics, it makes sense for us to stick together. In fact, there was a time when I believed in the sisterhood, but that was before women at war led to my emotional and financial ruin. 5 years ago, I was working as a TV executive producer making shows for top channels such as MTV and based in Los Angeles. It sounds like a dream job, and it could have been, if I'd been male. Working in TV is notoriously difficult for women. There is a powerful old boys network, robust glass ceiling, and the majority of bosses are misogynistic males. Women will call men misogynistic or abusive when they don't cut the women slack because they're women. This goes for the same in relationships if men don't allow them to go on girls' trips to cheat or dress like hookers. Gradually, what had started out as a daydream, wouldn't it be great if there were no men where I worked, turned into an exciting concept. I decided to create the first all-female production company where smart, intelligent, career-oriented women could work harmoniously, free from the bravado of the opposite sex. In hindsight, I should have learned the lessons of my past. At my mixed secondary school, I was bullied by a gang of nasty, name-calling girls, so I knew only too well how nasty groups of women could become. Most bullying women experience are from other women in school. And working in TV, I'd met lots of super competitive door slammers who do anything to get to the top. But I told myself that, with the right women, work could be wonderful. So, in April 2005, I left my job, remortgaged my house, freeing up close to £100,000 and began paying myself just £700 a month to set up this utopian business. Having worked extremely hard for 12 years, I had lots of experience and a good reputation. What could go wrong? At least she put her money where her mouth is. She put it all on the line, using her own money. That's more than what 99% of all feminists would ever do. Picking my battles, I hired a team of 7 staff and set up an office in Richmond upon Thames, Surrey. While the women I interviewed claimed to be enthused by the idea, they still insisted on high salaries. Fair enough, I thought at the time. They are professionals, and I knew most of them were talented and conscientious because I had worked with them before. Famous quote someone said, "Socialism is great until you run out of someone else's money." Not everyone deserves a high-paying salary or a living wage. It all depends on how much value they produce or add to the bottom line of the company. But within a week, 2 cliques had developed, those who had worked together before and those who were producing new ideas. Most days would bring a pointed moment when some people were invited out for lunch or a coffee break, and some weren't. Nothing explicit was ever said. The cutting rejection was obvious enough. Maybe hiring LA girl bosses made things worse than they would have been normally. I feel like this concept may have had a better shot in a smaller city. Even when we all went to the pub after work, strict divisions remained, made clear according to who sat where around the table and who would be civil or not to whom. Fashion was a great divider, though in this battlefield, everyone was on their own. Hideously stereotypical and shallow as it sounds, clothes were a huge source of catty comments, from sly remarks about people looking overdressed to the merits of their fake tan application. That's why companies should have a dress code or better a uniform. Makes it easier for everyone and helps them to focus on work more. I always felt sorry for anyone who naively showed off a new purchase in the office because everyone would coo appreciatively to their face, then harshly criticize them as soon as they were out of earshot. This happened without exception. My deputy, Sarah, the general manager, first showed how much style mattered when she advertised for an office assistant and refused to hire the best qualified girl because she could not distinguish Mazzoni from Marc Jacobs. This girl would have been making tea and running errands. But I didn't challenge the decision not to hire her because I had a policy of picking my battles carefully. So the most qualified candidate wasn't hired because she didn't know the difference between 2 fashion brands? This is fucking retarded. The office was like a Milan catwalk, but with the competitiveness of a Miss World contest and the low cunning of a mud wrestling bout. A fashion spat ended one friendship when Sarah and our young development researcher received the same surprise Christmas gift, a Chloe Paddington bag worth 900 pounds. When they clocked the matching bags in the office, it was like pistols at dawn. They forced a few compliments, but relations never recovered, to the expense of my company. Sounds like these women are trophy girlfriends pretending to be professionals. How many women in the LA media industry do you think has slept their way to the top or a high-paying position? These women seem to be useless. Another time, when 2 members of staff bought the same jeans, one proclaimed, "They'll look better on me because I'm a size 8 and she's a 10. It didn't take long for the office to become divided between the girls who wore makeup and those who didn't. Comments from the former were typically, "Doesn't she know what spot cover-up is?" or "Has she ever met a hairbrush?" While the no makeup clan were equally biting, with comments behind their backs, naturally, such as, "People on the morning bus must think she's a prostitute," or "She looks like a slapper." The obsession with appearance meant nearly all the staff were on diets. If I bought a tuna mayonnaise baguette for lunch, I would overhear staff commenting that I was a pig. I'm a size 12. Men don't fat shame. They just don't date fat women or honestly reject them. Yet, who do you think receives the blunt of blame for shaming fat women? You guessed it, men. 2 of the skinny girls often snidely said about the largest girl, "I'd kill myself if I got that fat." One of the assistants got her own back on the food police for several weeks by pretending to buy them fat-free lattes, which were really full fat. Employees considered it acceptable to take time off for beauty treatments and not out of their holiday allowance. One girl regularly came in late because she was getting her hair colored, and when I mentioned this, she blew up in outrage. Though at least she had a reason. Most just turned up late regardless and huffed, "That's the time my train gets in," if I pointed at the clock. In hindsight, I can see I should have been more strict. My idealism was my own downfall because I tried to see the best in people. I was convinced they would behave as they were treated, so I treated everyone kindly. A boss has to lay down the law not to be a dick or in her case a cunt, to make people know this is serious. They're here to work, not socialize. And the good bosses can inspire people to go above and beyond. It's called charm and charisma. because men actually have to develop people skills to lead other people. It's not like women who can use their sex appeal to get simps to do things for them. Snide comments. If I'd have been more cynical, I would have been more successful. I was often out trying to win contracts, but at the office, work was an afterthought. It came second to conversations about shopping, boyfriends, and diets. Oh, and spiteful comments from my 2 development researchers, who were sharpening their acrylic nails against other staff member, Natasha. Yet, there are women in real companies who spend their whole day gossiping because either their position is fake for the sake of diversity, or the company is too afraid to fire them, or they're outright screwing the boss. 6 months after the company's inception, tension spilled over when one of the researchers took Natasha's laptop and refused to return it. That day, I was forced to cancel my meetings and return to the office to patch up relations. Though Sarah, my general manager, was present, she refused to get involved because she didn't want to be the bad cop. Despite being in charge, she was scared at the prospect of being bitched about. It was as though, in a women-only environment, staff were unable to keep their defined roles. Strange how most women bosses have no problems being bitches to men who work under them. Soon, arguments became a daily occurrence. It would start with snide comments between 2 people, then, as others joined, emotion and anger would grow until an eruption, shouting, screaming, swearing, which always left someone in tears. Then the friends of the woman who was upset would follow her to console her, leaving one group in the office and another group in the ladies. Both would then bitch unreservedly about each other and do absolutely no work. It reached the point that I even wrote a handbook for staff on how to be nice to each other. The advice centered on being respectful to everyone and treating people equally, taking phone messages properly when the call was for me or a junior. I also said there should be no more criticizing or whispering in the office, but although when people read it, they said they loved the idea, it made no difference. Many of the women were aggressive or defensive, or both. The most aggressive masked a host of insecurities with their outgoing nature, while the defensive ones opened up only when provoked. The worst type I encountered, however, was the passive-aggressive, she doesn't seem mean but is the worst of the pack, ruthlessly bringing you down in such a sweet and unassuming manner that you don't realize what she's done until long after the event. Now she knows why most men in the West have gone MGTOW. Imagine having to live with modern women. Broken hearts. She conceals her bitchy words in flowery phrases. One of my staff told another sweetly, "I don't mean to be a bitch, but I just can't bear to be in the same room and breathe the same air as you right now." But the biggest force wasn't personality type, it was hormones. When one woman started having IVF, she unleashed her rage without warning and without apology. At that time of the month, which in an office staffed only by women meant someone was always at that point. Any bad mood was swiftly passed on to the rest of the team as if by osmosis. Hormones came second as an excuse for absence and bad temper, only to love life problems. When one woman split up with her boyfriend, I was told in no uncertain terms by her that I must be super understanding and sensitive towards her work, in an email she sent me. A true drama queen, her tears went on for a week. Sounds like women hate working and will use any excuse not to work as long as possible. Naturally, her enemies in the office delighted in her broken heart. Another girl, juggling 2 relationships at once, frequently primed everyone in the office about what to say to whom whenever either of the men called the office. Another woman had a voracious sexual appetite and, in a female-only environment, saw nothing wrong with screeching across the open-plan room details of her marathon sex sessions. I received frequent complaints about her crude language. And women complain about men's locker room talk. Ask male coaches like Coach Greg Adams what women athletes talk about and you'll be shocked how dirty modern women have become. That's how Coach Greg Adams got red-pilled when he was a coach for college women's sports. I can still remember the name of all my staff's partners and their affairs because it interfered with our work so often. Professionally, however, the company was somehow thriving. We secured 2 program commissions, one with ITV and a series with Living TV, so we could afford new offices in West London. But this brought another explosion from Sarah when she paid out for a parking permit while another girl was given a free space by the building's landlord. During a massive row, Sarah said the girl had overstepped her rank, while the girl told her it was just tough. They never spoke again. The effect a lack of testosterone was having in our office was even more apparent when I temporarily hired 2 male directors to work on a series. Camera operators are usually men because of the heavy equipment. The team suddenly became quieter, the more hardworking and less bitchy, partly because they were too busy flirting. She's breaking her rules already. 2 girls openly went after one director, even though he had a live-in girlfriend. His partner didn't stand a chance against their relentless flirting and was dumped when one of them won his affections. When we had meetings with men, staff turned ferocious, each out to prove that they were the sexiest in the room. With a male commissioner at Channel 4, one employee said, "Watch this," then stuck her hand down her bra and tweaked her nipples. The man and I were speechless. And you see, men, when you become desirable and you go overseas where women outnumber men, not just that, attractive women outnumber average men, they put an effort for your commitment. In this climate, I didn't dare employ any men because of the distraction and, even worse, catfights they created. I hate how much that sounds like stereotyping, but I'm afraid it's what I found to be true. And while I stand by my initial reason for excluding male employees because they have an easy ride in TV, if I were to do it again, I'd definitely employ men. In fact, I'd probably employ only men. She just contradicted herself. Those women had an easy ride being able to fight all day at work and not get fired. Men have to perform and earn their keep because there's no laws protecting them. Making close to $500,000 in our first year should have meant profit, but this was wiped out by high salaries and accounting errors by staff. Then, when we began having cash flow problems, Sarah signed herself off sick with stress for a month. She also confessed she'd been dodging calls from people who were due payment, thus ruining my firm's reputation. The firm didn't have a reputation to begin with since it could barely function. By then, I was back and forth on a plane between Britain and the US dealing with fractious staff in London and barmy LA producers. My general manager was nowhere to be found. Bills hadn't been paid and the tension in the office was palpable. To pump extra cash into the business, I sold both my cars, but it was too late and we went bankrupt in March 2007, less than 2 years after I had formed the company. Though I will not absolve myself of all guilt, I believe the business was ruined by the destructive jealousy and infighting of an all-female staff. Their selfishness and insecurities led to my company's demise. When I needed the so-called sisterhood, believe me, it just wasn't there. That was a good story. A girl boss who thinks men have it easy, despite admitting she'd only hire men, went broke because of her feminist ideology. Like Kevin Samuels used to say, you can't make this shit up. As always, I wish you tremendous success. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember that if you leave the best comment, you'll get $5. Thank you so much for watching. If you found value in this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons, ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads, drop a comment, and share it. See you in the next video. Till next time.